a sports classic chronograph that does work with everything, and it's just, again, one of those products that is never wrong.
If I have to choose the talking piece for a term of engineering or craftsmanship for watchmakers, absolutely.
We wanted to have a color range that would be new and timeless at the same time.
Why do you think people need to buy mechanical watches instead of smartwatches?
I think smartwatches.
Classsy. 지난번에 올렸던 스위스 시계박람회 워치스 앤 원더스 현지 촬영 첫 영상 잘 보셨나요? 저의 취향을 잘 보여주는 브랜드인 이 IWC의 워치스 앤 원더스 부스와 이 신제품을 아주 자세히 보여드린 영상이었죠. 사실 당시에 저희가 너무 감사하게도 IWC의 CEO와 워치 앤 무브먼트 디렉터 그리고 디자인 총괄 이 세 분 모두를 인터뷰할 기회를 얻었었는데요. 이때 제가 궁금했던 것들을 다 여쭤봤습니다. 정말 뜻깊고 유익한 시간이었어요. 근데 이제 지난번 영상 분량상 이걸 이제 조금씩밖에 쓸 수 없어서 너무 아까운 거예요. 그래서 이번 편에 따로 편집해서 업로드하기로 했습니다. 그럼 볼까요? 이때 IWC 포르투기저의 신제품 컬러들로 옷을 맞춰 입고 갔었는데 때마침 듄 컬러의 퍼페추얼 캘린더를 차고 있던 CEO께서 본인 시계가 본인보다는 제 수트에 더 잘 어울린다면서 바꿔 차자고 해주셨습니다. 너무 영광스러운 순간이었어요. Could you please describe IWC Schaffhausen's brand philosophy and vision?
Yeah, so look, we are a brand that is based in engineering. Our founder was an engineer, so he tried to combine the best of technology and craftsmanship, which means that when we do watches, we try to make them precise, to make them legible, to make them easy to use. And the Perpetual calendar is a perfect example of that, because our Perpetual calendars does not have any correction pushers. It's a very legible dial. You know, the Portugieser is really based on the idea of a nautical instrument. It was something that was a useful instrument for officers on deck to navigate ships, and that DNA is still in there. So yes, it's a classical, complicated watch, but it's also robust, it's variable, it's easy to use, and its engineering is just on point. And when we look at our highlight this year, the Eternal calendar, again, this idea of accounting for the leap year exceptions, yes, it has been done by watchmakers using 10, 15 different cogwheels and levers, but we have really stuck to our point of just having a very easy to operate program wheel and just added 3 additional wheels, which give us that 400-year leap year wheel, getting us all the way to the end of the calendar. And I think this fits into the same module as a regular Perpetual calendar, including the moon phase that now has a 45 million year accuracy.
Wow.
And I think this is very much the spirit of IWC. So in the end, you know, as you're wearing perfectly today, you have a classical wristwatch that still is modern and that retains a bit of sporty edge that comes from this tool watch DNA. And that I think is what sets IWC apart from other classical wristwatches.
Wow. What is the most important stage in IWC watchmaking process, and how does this process impact the quality of the final product?
I have to say that every single process step is very important. If I have to highlight a special process step, then I would, as a watchmaker, highlight the fine-tuning of a movement. Because the fine-tuning is very essential to reach the accuracy of a movement. If you assemble a movement, every movement is a little bit individual, and it needs the touch of a hand of a very skilled watchmaker you see behind me. And this is something which reflects the craftsmanship of IWC or the watchmaking industry. And
사실 몇 년 전부터 이 스포츠워치가 굉장히 세계적으로 대세인데, 그래서 IWC도 작년에 엔지니어를 출시했었죠. 근데 왜 2024년은 드레스워치인 포르투기저의 해로 선정하신 건지 그게 너무 궁금했습니다. Could you please tell me why choose Portugieser as the brand's collection of the year?
So we come off the back of quite a number of years of pilot's focus, which was sports watches, which especially during the pandemic, we saw that everybody's style was casualizing. You know, we're all running around in sneakers and hoodies, and therefore it made perfect sense that we really focus on sportier, more casual products. Then last year we brought the Engineer, our first integrated steel sports watch based on the original Genta design from the 1970s, and that was really sort of already the borderline between something classical and something modern and sporty. And now coming with the Portugieser, going back to a focus on dress watches, but giving them that modern twist, which I think means that you can wear them suited up and you can really style it up, or they still fit in a sporty and casual context. So we have our Portugieser automatics also on metal bracelet, we have them on rubber strap, and the Horizon Blue, if you look at the Perpetual calendar on that gradient blue ice color strap, also gives that classical watch again a sporty twist. And that's why Portugieser is such a good context and focus for now.
What are the most noticeable design changes for the Portugieser in 2024?
I think that what we do is that we rework the case proportions of the Portugieser and reinforcing the true DNA of the product. The Portugieser original, the reference 325 from 1939, was a slim hand-wound watch, a three-hands watch with a very pure and legible design. So this instrument character we wanted to bring forward again. Doing this with a new case construction, giving more view, a better view on the dial, making a lighter and visually more airy product, but also reworking the dial, fine-tuning the dial graphics to the ultimate purity, eliminating secondary colors like the red, and giving a lot of attention to the individual graphics of each sub-counter, of each line in the graphics. And this is combined to an incredible level of craftsmanship we applied on these dials. We combine actually that purity with an extreme passion for finishing and for detail. The dials the new collection uses involves up to 60 process steps to build them, involving up to 15 layers of clear lacquer to get this incredible richness and deepness.
In Korea, wedding is one of the biggest and first occasion to purchase watch in their lifetime. And Korean loves IWC watches, especially the Portugieser collection. Why do you think Portugieser watches are the dress watch?
Well, I think, again, with Portugieser chronograph, it is a design that is really recognizable. It's very unique, and also it sits on the borderline between being a masculine and a feminine product and being classic and sports. So again, for somebody who's looking for an everyday watch, then somebody who wants to add a little bit of dynamic to their life, I think the Portugieser chronograph is a great product because it is a sports classic chronograph that does work with everything, and it's just, again, one of those products that is never wrong. And I think especially now when you think about wedding watches and you can combine maybe one of our automatic watches 42 with the automatic 40s, now in Horizon or in Obsidian, you have these beautiful 40mm automatics. And I've seen yesterday Giselle Bündchen was here. She was wearing the Horizon Blue automatic 40 with a white trouser suit outfit. I mean, you go for a wedding, I mean, what a style choice. And then you can combine that with a bigger automatic or with a chronograph or with a Perpetual calendar, and you have a bride and groom kind of setup, which I think could be fantastic. So here, with those colors, I think we have a really, really nice array that can be chosen also as a couple's watch for any wedding occasion.
Actually, I wore the Portugieser chronograph on my wedding day.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
As a dress watch with my tuxedo.
Yeah.
What did you try to express through the new colors of the 2024 Portugieser?
From the beginning on, we said, okay, we have to present this new collection in new and unseen colors. So next to all the efforts we put into the dials and the cases, the color will have an impact at the point of sale on display. So we wanted to have a color range that would be new and timeless at the same time. So we picked 4 colors that bring the novelty, quality, and the visual impact. This is a color scheme we worked on together with our partner Pantone that is inspired by the cycle of day and night, so to speak. We have the silver moon to represent the early morning, and then the horizon blue for midday. Dune is inspired by the warm light in the afternoon, and the obsidian black is the color of the night. So there's a very nice link to all the calendar functions we find in the complications in this collection, and this is tied together by the idea of the cycle and day and night.
Would you please tell me the meaning of Portugieser eternal calendar for IWC Schaffhausen?
No, as I said, look, the Perpetual calendar is fantastic, but it always has one limitation, and that is the fact that in order to synchronize the solar year and our calendar, there is always a little bit of a mismatch. And our calendar compensates for that by occasionally, on the centuries, skipping a leap year. And all of these Perpetual calendars, they all have to be adjusted in those years in 2100, 200, and 300. And we set our engineers the challenge to say, let's do one better than that. Can we crack this problem?
Wow.
And the Eternal Calendar manages that with very few parts to be precise all the way to 3,999. And with that moon phase that just smashed the world record, 2 million years previous world record, 45 million years with a new moon phase before you need to adjust it by 1 day. And we think it just shows that we can really master the calendar functions in those Portuguese watches, and that's why it's such an important flagship to radiate across our collection, especially the Portuguese.
Which Portuguese model do you personally have the most affection for in terms of engineering?
If I have to choose the talking piece for a term of engineering or craftsmanship for watchmakers, absolutely clear, it is the Eternal Calendar, because we developed out of our legendary Perpetual calendar the eternity out of this, and this shows the engineering mindset behind IWC. That's why we reach not only 577 days in the moon phase, we now reach 45 million years accuracy in the moon phase, which is a really unbelievable high number.
Is the Eternal Calendar the limited edition?
We have a limited production per year because it's so difficult to produce. We have to spend the capacity to a very small batch of watches.
저는 IWC의 예전 CF를 굉장히 인상적으로 봤었는데요. IWC의 전설적인 워치메이커인 커트 클라우스가 직접 나오신 CF였습니다. 이 커트 클라우스가 이 스마트워치 스토어에 가서 시계 관련 질문을 하시는 내용이었는데 굉장한 임팩트가 있었습니다.
Can you tell me more about the movement of this watch?
Sure, it senses all of your movement and it tracks all of your steps.
No, the watch movement.
Watch movement?
Can I talk to one of your watchmakers?
그래서 워치 앤 무브먼트 디렉터에게 이런 질문을 한번 드려봤어요. Last but not least, I'd like to ask you my thought. Many people compare mechanical watches and smartwatches. Why do you think people need to buy mechanical watches instead of smartwatches?
I think smartwatches connects you to the technology. You can have your call, you can have your internet access and all the things. A mechanical watch connects you to the history, to the heritage of watchmaking. This is completely different. While as a heritage, a mechanical watch, you can give to the next generation, It's not about timekeeping, it's about dreams. And I think this is the very big difference from smartwatches.
That is why I exactly choose mechanical watches. Yeah. 네, 이렇게 IWC의 스위스 본사 운영진분들과 이렇게 인터뷰를 할 수 있게 돼서 너무 영광이었고, 원래도 좋아했던 브랜드지만 이 브랜드에 대한 관심과 로열티가 훨씬 높아진 것 같습니다. 저희가 이제 스위스에서 찍어온 컨텐츠들은 모두 고정 댓글에 제가 달아놨으니까요. 꼭 한번 정주행해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 재밌으실 거예요. 그럼 저희는 또 다음 영상에서 찾아뵙겠습니다. Always be Classy.